just done it from nowhere.
Nick Davis! Nick Davis! The miracle on grass!
To Zaharakis!
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Dickheads Talksport podcast. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jed.
And we're just a couple of dickheads talking about sports we like. So a lot happened in the AFL this week, starting with Thursday night, St Kilda and Carlton.
It was another pretty good game. Obviously the Saints getting over the top in the end, which pushes them up to actually... They're in the top 4 now, the Saints. So after their pretty big loss to the Pies, they've really turned it around. So obviously Blues getting off to a very poor start, probably again.
That's still their biggest flaw this season.
5 goals down at half time probably doesn't help, but they did kick back, but Saints did hold on. Some pretty good, obviously again, Jack Steele having a pretty good season. And then their new recruit Dan Butler probably leading their best and fairest.
Butler.
Probably leading their best and fairest this year, I reckon. He's nearly double-figure goals, you'd say.
I think so, yeah.
I did really paid attention to this game much, but good to see some smaller teams pushing up there nearly midway through the season, close to. So yeah, not much out of that game.
Friday night, Collingwood and Essendon.
Obviously, watched this game very. Watched it. That was very poor from.
I mean, Collingwood started really well.
Yeah,
they
kicked the first 3 goals, and it looked like they were going to blow them out. But credit to Essendon, really brought it back for the rest of the game. Obviously, they had Heppel and Merritt not playing, so their midfield was really weak. But they really got on top. Obviously, Sidebottom wasn't playing for Collingwood, but there's a lot of flaws to the Collingwood team this year, I reckon. Obviously, the forward line's not really gelling at the moment. Obviously, Steve-O's had another brilliant first quarter to go on and not do much for the rest. He had a pretty good game. Went through the midfield a lot this week, and I think that's where he's going to really dominate. I think Dylan Shield, 29 disposals, back to his best. Obviously, he can get rid of that man bun anytime soon, because that is awful.
Not a good look.
No. And Jake Stringer is kicking 3 goals and probably he's one of his better games this season, but news have come out that he's actually out for 1 to 3 months.
Oof.
With an ankle, do? I think it was. Okay. So I think it was the last 5 minutes of the game as well. So
it's unlucky. With
him coming back into form, it's poor time. And if he can get back into close to 2016 Bulldogs form, he'll be very good for Essendon. Obviously, he hasn't got back to that form since then. But Treloar, the in for Sidebottom this week, obviously back to where he was, having 30 touches. And then I think probably Collingwood's best player was Braden Maynard again. Coming off, I think he had just got kneed in the guts, so not too bad, although it says injured here.
Yeah.
But they just go off anything that comes off. Alright, we'll go through just a few Saturday games quickly. West Coast Sydney. West Coast getting their first win in a while, over by 34 points, up at Metricon, I think it was, so they finally got a win up there. Obviously Sydney, the last 2 weeks haven't been too good. Geelong Gold Coast.
Disappointing.
Big milestones for Ablett and Selwood up there that night, and good win to finish it off. Obviously the big news, Matty Rao out in the first 5 minutes.
No.
Such a promising start, and then to get injured. It's typical Gold Coast.
They looked really good for most of the game until
I
think the last quarter maybe, or
every
mid-third
year
quarter.
Back in the day when Gary Ablett was at Gold Coast, they'd start so well, he'd get injured and they'd drop off. It was a common factor. Is that happening again?
I don't think Matt Rowell necessarily carries the Suns compared to when Gary Ablett was there, but who knows?
Yeah. They still put up a good fight.
Yeah,
obviously.
for most of the game.
Up in Geelong, it's hard to win there. Next game was Bulldogs North.
Right, okay. This was a tough one to watch. We did not play great except for a select few players like Goldstein, Luke McDonald was good in the midfield.
At the moment, isn't he?
My only big problem with this was, we let Josh Bruce kick 6 goals.
He played.
He played well.
He was taking every mark that was coming, every ball that was coming near him.
It's just
There's a few big notes coming out of this game. Obviously, I think did Sean Higgins come off injured late? I think he came off injured late. But the big one was Ben Cunnington. So
they really rushed
Jack
him.
Zeeble was out for this week, and Ben Cunnington obviously been out for a couple of weeks. Did they rush him back in just because they needed an extra top leader in their team?
They definitely did. When you look at him play, he was not fit to play at all. He just looked
so they were showing him
tired.
in the warm up having a fitness test, and he didn't look. Even the commentators were saying, "Oh, I don't reckon he'll play." And then they said he did. Didn't touch the ball, I think, in the first 10 minutes, and then had a spell of about 5 possessions, and it's like, okay, he's fine now, and then was pretty much off the field for the rest of the game.
We shouldn't have rushed him. That was our problem, because then we just played him in the forward line because he wasn't ready, which I think still affected us.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, credit to Bulldogs. They played really good game. They're back in great form. I think they only had the one injury of Bailey Smith, concussion. Just a big collision there. Ran back into it and got collided with Sean Atley. So, always not a great thing to get. Concussion. Obviously ruined a lot of players' careers.
Knowing what we know now about concussions.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll go to the last game on the Saturday. Obviously, big game was Brisbane Port. It was the first versus second, I think it was, up in Brisbane.
Maybe.
Brisbane just dominated the whole night, coming over with a 37-point victory. And I think this shows that they're probably, at the moment, the premiership favourites.
I'd say so. It's just, since the restart, they haven't played outside of Queensland, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I think they're also playing it for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
This was definitely
they'll probably go to maybe play Metricon or something if the hubs change later in the season.
Yeah. This is definitely the biggest surprise this game, because
Port were really poor.
I was pretty confident going into this, thinking we'll get a much closer game, but Brisbane just dominated.
Yeah. Well,
by the looks of things.
It's their first really in-form team they've played. Obviously, they played West Coast last week, who weren't really in great form, but you really hope that they can keep going. After a big loss, they can come off and keep going. I think Brisbane are really in prime form to keep going. Okay, we'll go to Sunday and the battle of...
This is a big one.
The no wins, and Freo have got their first win of the season, which I think they deserved. They've had a few close losses at the start of the season, but obviously no Fife. I think Walters stood up, and a lot of their players stood up to get their first win. Obviously, Adelaide's still without the win. I don't see who they're beating at the moment.
Yeah, they're just not gelling together as a team. Knowing what now about the what's come out recently about the camp and stuff.
You can see why they're not a happy club.
No, not at all.
Well, who do you see Adelaide beating?
Maybe Carlton if they're lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because they could potentially not win a game this season. The way they're playing.
Maybe, but
there'll always be that one team that they'll just upset or something. They'll turn up and be the best team in the comp for one day. And
yeah, who knows? Also, more importantly for this game is played prime time in the United States.
In the United States.
Not the best game to play, but then again, they probably wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So hopefully... I didn't watch the game, so I'm not sure if it was any good or not.
Well, it was 54-34 for our win, but pretty low scoring. But I think the Americans don't care. They just want to see
the big collisions.
Yeah. We'll go. The second game on Sunday was Richmond-Melbourne. Tigers finally getting a victory.
Much needed victory as well.
Is that their first one since the restart?
I think so.
Yeah. So they obviously had pretty tough last half. Obviously, Cochin, Nankervis, Prestia,
Broad.
Obviously all coming off injured. Broad with the bloody dislocated finger. I think Cochin had hammy issues. I'm not sure about the other two. And then Lynch with the broken finger. And then news came out that Hooley and Edwards weren't travelling in the hub. So they're going to miss in the next couple of weeks, they're going to miss a few big key players. Yeah. So, obviously, the Demons really let Richmond get away early, and I think they just didn't come back from there. Petrarca had 14 disposals in the first quarter.
He's looking pretty good.
He's having a ripper season. Christian had 13 for the rest of the game. I think Kane Lambert, he's a very underrated player at the Tigers. kicking 3 and having 27 disposals. He just not because he's not a big name. He's not really known that well. And then we'll go to the final game of the round. Giants getting over Hawks. Giants coming back into form now. But I think they led for most of the game. Pretty much, I think they led for the whole game in the end, getting the quick start and just not letting it get it back. Himmelberg and Finlayson kicking 4. So their tall forwards are starting to get into it, and I think that's why they're really starting to win games now. So that's the end of the just quick review of the round. Obviously, this week all the players had to go into hubs in other states, so they could actually play. So no games left in Victoria, obviously because of the spikes of coronavirus, but it's not going to matter at the moment if they get. So it's obviously going to be good for the home teams up there. They're going to get home games every week. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I think interstate, some Victorian teams will struggle more than others, obviously.
Yeah.
It's tough to say, but the interstate teams are definitely going to thrive. Which
I think Richmond have won hardly any away games in the last 4 or 5 years.
I reckon in the last 3 years, I think they've maybe won 2.
Yeah, because that year they won the premiership. They in 2017 they lost 4 games away, and then they played 4 games away.
I think 2018 they also lost every game interstate, and then last year they won 1.
Yeah,
maybe.
So maybe it's only 1.
And the other teams like Geelong and Collingwood going to WA.
Yeah,
who knows?
We have
really
a decent away record, which I like about Collingwood. We can actually play away. Obviously, we beat West Coast out there last year, Adelaide out there last year, and the year before. Obviously, we've already lost to Giants away, but obviously with the shambles Collingwood are in at the moment, who knows?
But this is definitely West Coast is definitely a team that can thrive at this time playing with their home ground as well.
Well, you've got 3 of the top 5 sides from last year sitting in the bottom 8, 9, which is Collingwood, Richmond, and West Coast. But West Coast look very promising this week. Obviously, they didn't play a very strong side in Sydney, but they're getting back to their best, I feel. And Richmond have just got another win. Collingwood haven't won in a couple of weeks, which is obviously they lost by 1 to GWS or 2 to GWS. So if they get over the line there, then who knows? But who knows what's going on at Collingwood at the moment?
I think something we have to address is how weird the top 8 is looking right now.
Yeah, so it's Port, Brisbane, Geelong, St Kilda, Essendon, Gold Coast, GWS, and Bulldogs.
Most of those teams last season would have been nowhere near.
So 3 of the top 5 were not. Oh no, sorry, 2 of the top. So Port didn't make finals last year, and St Kilda, and then Gold Coast didn't either. So we got a lot of teams that are really pushing early in the season. Which
It's
I
so
like
weird.
to see.
I mean, I know we're only 5 games in, but it's really weird seeing Richmond, Collingwood, and Hawthorn and the West Coast, just none of them in the 8.
Seeing West Coast in the bottom 4 is weird. This 5 games into the season.
Yeah.
Melbourne's still struggling with the only 1 win. Obviously, only playing 4 games, so they got 1 more. Well, there's another thing here. Essendon have only played 4 and are sitting 5th. Well, sitting equal 3rd, and they've only played 4 games. So they could push up to 2nd or 3rd if they get the win against Melbourne whenever that's played. So they've got a game in hand. So they're looking pretty good this year, the Dons. They can keep everyone fit. Then yeah.
I feel like Essendon is a team that everyone's slightly underestimated this year.
Because they're pretty inconsistent side.
Yeah.
So who knows what can happen with Essendon. So it was a bit of an odd week this week. Obviously, a bit of news coming out this week about the AFL and things like that.
Yeah.
But wasn't the most exciting week of footy.
No. Well, both our teams went down.
Yeah.
Mine more so than yours, but let's just move on to next week.
So obviously with Richmond's injuries, Tom Lynch obviously getting his broken finger, had to get surgery. Obviously didn't travel up with the team yesterday, I think. Yesterday after late night, so he has to travel up and get there before midnight tonight, before the borders close.
Race against time.
So a bit of a not so great week, obviously for us and probably most of the AFL this week. Not the most exciting week of footy, but obviously it's going to be interesting seeing all the teams playing. It's going to be weird seeing like Collingwood, Hawthorn playing at the Giants Stadium. It's going to be weird seeing that and things like that. Like teams like Geelong and Brisbane are playing the SCG, and like Freo, St Kilda at Metricon, and West Coast Adelaide at the Gabba. It's weird to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the times we're going through at the moment.
Right, moving on. So, you got your votes
So
for this round?
votes for this week. There's a few new faces in here this week. Obviously the players that already rocked up votes this week. There's still an outright leader that's moved further ahead this week.
Of course.
So we go back to Thursday night, St Kilda versus Carlton. I've got 1 vote for Billings, 2 for Marshall, and 3 for Jack Steele. Friday night, I've got 1 for Treloar, 2 for Maynard, and 3 for Dylan Shield. Eagles Swans, I've gone 1 for Jake Lloyd, 2 for Nick Nat, and 3 for Brad Shepherd. Cats Suns, I've gone 1 Duncan, 2 Hawkins, 3 Parfitt, who I think had 12 tackles.
Wow,
Which is-
that's a big game.
Dogs North, I've gone 1 for Robbie Tarrant, 2 for Todd Goldstein, and then 3 for Josh Bruce. It was a battle up between 3 and 2 between Goldstein and Bruce. I think I love a good 6-goal haul.
Yeah, fair enough.
Obviously Goldstein having a very good season, and then Robbie Tarrant, I think he took 10 or so marks across the back line, who's really shaping up to be a very good player this year. Lions Port, I've gone 1 vote, 2 Lions, and 3, you would have guessed it, Lachie Neale. He's
Shocking.
absolutely dominated this season. It's Crows Dockers. I've gone 1 Monday, and then the Crouch brothers can share the 2 and 3. So Matt 2, Brad 3. They're the only players doing anything for that club at the moment. D's Tigers have gone 1, Bailey Fritsch, 2 Max Gorn, who's had his first big game of the season. I think he racked up 22 disposals as well, and then 3 underrated Kane Lambert with 3 goals and 27 disposals. Then the final game, Giants Hawks, I've gone 1 for Perryman, 2 for Whitfield, and 3 for Josh Kelly. So the leaderboard at the moment, we have 5 players on 6 votes. Travis Boak, Todd Goldstein, Sam Doherty, Dylan Shield, and Brandon Parfitt. 2 on 7, who are sitting 4th, equal 3rd, Scott Pendlebury and Andrew Gaff. And then on 8th, Matt Rowell. And then number 1 with 14 votes is Lachie Neale.
He's looking good this year.
Leading it by 6. 5 games into the season.
He's going to be hard to stop, I must say.
He'd have to have some very bad weeks for people to catch. Obviously, Matt Rowell injured. Gaff and Pendlebury didn't poll that round. But he's really showing his class up in Brisbane at the moment. And you'd probably have him tip for the Brownlow at this stage of the season if he keeps going at this rate.
Well, with Matt Rowell's injury, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's probably... I reckon the other closest player not biased is probably Pendlebury, the way he started. He's probably voted in a lot of games, I think maybe early, but I don't think there's anyone close to him at the moment, Lachie Neale. So it'll be interesting. Well, the way they're going, if they keep going like that, they could be on for a late run in September with a hopeful Brownlow medalist in their team by the end of the year. I think he's really missed out with the likes of playing behind Nat Fyfe, I think. There, and he's really shown he's become the star player of the team now, and his form has just been phenomenal, and yeah.
All right, so moving on to the world of soccer, are we?
Yeah.
Was it okay? So Serie A, Juventus are now 7 points ahead of Lazio and 11 points ahead of Inter, with 4 games to go, I think. So it's looking like Juventus are winning again. Which is slightly disappointing.
How many years in a row? 9?
I think so, yeah.
Jesus.
I was really banking on Inter this season, but that's all right. Other big news are in the Bundesliga, Leroy Sané moving to Bayern, which is huge for them. Their attacking options are looking very good now, even better than they were.
It was pretty cheap as well, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
50?
Something
around that. Well, for a player with his class, Obviously, he's been injured for a long time, but
So he's out for most of the season.
yeah,
and
but
he's
very good player and still pretty young. I like Leroy Sané as a player. Obviously, didn't like him because he played for City.
Yeah, well, fair
But
enough.
you can't. But as soon as he moves away,
You
I
love
like
him again.
You
Yeah.
love him again.
So I'm
It's
thinking.
everyone that goes to rival clubs at the moment. You can't like him.
So I'm thinking Bayern are looking really good.
Oh, okay. When have they not? To be honest.
Yeah, but not just domestically, but like in
Yeah,
European
well,
competitions.
They're still in the Champions League at the
I
moment.
think they've got a 3-0 lead over Chelsea right now.
Yeah, and you don't see them losing that. With
No,
the
not
quality
really.
they have in their team at the
They've got
moment.
Arguably the best striker in the world up front.
Yeah.
Got some of the
pushing
best young
top
midfielders.
5. He'd be probably top 5 best players in the world at the moment.
He's probably going to win the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
I think he should. He scored like 48
Well,
goals
he's
in 52 games.
He's a leading goal scorer in the Champions League and the Bundesliga at the moment.
He would have won the Bundesliga Golden Boot, I think.
Yeah, he did. He won Player of the Year as well.
Well deserved.
Yeah, very probably dumb if you didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
But
So-
it's good. It's good seeing like. I know he's not like a nobody, but other players being recognised more than like Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe.
Yeah.
I like it. Like seeing someone else dominate Europe and their league as much as they are at the moment.
Like he's been good ever since he went to Germany, starting with Dortmund, but now he's been like so much better
he's
this
just started
season.
to come out even more like as a better striker, and like they've got so much class in their team. Bayern. I don't see anyone beating him for a while because now they've brought in a lot of younger players.
Yeah, which to their benefit I think has really worked for them.
Yeah, and Alphonso Davies winning Young Player of the Year in the Bundesliga. It's probably a no-brainer. He's been very good. Obviously, he can play left wing, left mid, left back, anywhere along that side. Player of his class and still very young. He'll become probably one of the best players for Bayern in upcoming years. So they've got a lot of things to look forward to.
So I think Bayern could be like favourites to win the Champions League this season. You never know, but I think
PSG always choke in the round of 16 or
yeah, they do.
Real Madrid still in it?
They've got the second leg against Man City, so they're down 2-1 in the first leg.
Well,
I
they're
think.
looking pretty good at the moment.
They are. They're looking
But
amazing
so are City since the restart, except for
this week.
yeah. But
We'll get to that in a
Real
minute.
Madrid could go through. Is it at the Bernabeu?
No, it's at the Etihad, the second leg.
So they got two. I don't know. It'll be a good game to watch. Who else is in there? Atletico. I think they'll go out.
No bias. He's just I don't know. Well, if he's not playing against Messi or Ronaldo, then Atletico are going to win because that's the thing.
Yeah. Who
Good.
else is in?
Leipzig are through as well.
They could push.
They're not. They haven't been as good before
Look, who else is in there?
the league was suspended, but
Yeah, I think they'd probably be the favourites. Obviously, well, Barcelona is still in there, and they've got bloody one of the best players ever to play the game, so you can't write them off. Atlanta,
yeah, they were looking really good in there.
they won 8-4 against Valencia. I remember that. So they're
Yeah,
I like those teams that aren't really big going through.
they're like one of
Late.
the highest scoring teams, I think.
Yeah,
Or
obviously
a lot
Leipzig,
of the time.
Atletico, PSG, Juve will probably go through. But yeah, so it's all the big sides, and then Leipzig and Atlanta. It'd be pretty good if Leipzig and Atlanta get each other, so then one of their teams can go through the next round.
But yeah, so I think Champions League's looking good for that, which is I think is later this month. I think it's coming
Yeah.
back. So very excited to see where that goes.
Have they played, the German Cup? Have they played the final for that?
I think they did.
Did Bayern win?
I didn't hear anything about it, but I think it might have been last weekend, or it might have been this weekend.
So they could win
The treble.
the
yeah.
treble. Obviously not many sides do that, but
It was yesterday, and they won 4-2.
they won. Oh yeah, I remember that. I saw some highlights of that.
I
Against
actually didn't see that. Yeah. So Alaba, Gnabry, and Lewandowski all scored. Lewandowski scored 2, and then Bender
Havertz
and
scored it.
Havertz scored.
Was it like a late penalty?
Literally last minute penalty. Yeah.
I think it was the last kick of the game. He scored and then he just blew the whistle.
So it seemed like possession was pretty much even. Shots, Bayern had 6 more,
Yeah.
3 more on target.
So did they play a very strong side?
Yes. So they played Neuer in goal, Pavard at right back, Boateng, Alaba as centre backs, Alphonso Davies, Goretzka, Kimmich, Gnabry, Muller, Koeman, and Lewandowski.
So
pretty much their best team,
Yeah.
and same with Leverkusen. They played their best team. You know, like Havertz, Leon Bailey, Aranguiz, and Diaby, just to name a few. And well, yeah, just Bayern are just simply the better team.
Yeah.
And so that's 2 trophies this season.
So
Can they get a third?
I actually want them to win there.
The Bayern treble.
Yeah. Obviously, don't want City to win. That's definitely a no-go.
I just don't want City or PSG to win. Anyone else can win it.
PSG, Real Madrid, I don't really care now. Like I like.
Oh, they can
Real
win.
Madrid have come back up now after they lost it in and they become not great and then they've pushed back up. Barcelona, I don't think will win it.
No.
I'd
Oh,
be
sorry.
insane Atlanta to win it.
I just forgot something because from the quarterfinal onwards, they're only doing 1 game,
Yeah.
not 2.
Yeah.
So Barcelona, they can't choke the second leg. So you never know.
Well, when it's just 1 game, Barcelona could do anything with Messi in their front 3.
So that should make it even more interesting.
Yeah.
So
Well, now that it's 1 game, likes of Atlanta and Leipzig could pull a 1 game wonder and get like a late cheap own goal or something like a penalty and then hold on for the rest of the game.
but then now I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Imagine like a Leipzig make like the semi-finals.
The streets would never forget that
Yeah.
team. But no Timo Werner, so they might struggle there because he's gone to Chelsea.
Maybe Atlanta, because they're a goal-scoring side.
Yeah, they've got Ilicic, Zapata,
Gomez,
Muriel, Gomez. Yeah, so they've got
Very goals.
some good attacking
That'll be
options.
very good to watch, I reckon. But still think the big sides will go through.
Yeah. So I think, as much as I don't want it to happen, maybe it's Man City or Bayern. Bayern I'm fine with, but Man City.
I'm gonna go Bayern. Oh, I'm going Bayern Juve final. Forgot about Juve.
Oh yeah, actually they've been really good as well
Yeah.
since the restart.
Probably the 2 most informed teams in the world at the moment. I reckon it could be those 2.
Yeah, potentially.
Obviously, the likes of Ronaldo and Messi just turn it up in big games, so who knows what can happen. Barcelona could storm through, but Bayern's class at the moment.
Alright, so moving on to the Premier League.
Yeah.
So there's been quite a few games over the last 7 days or so. So Brighton played Man United at home last week. Man United winning 3-0, a goal to Mason Greenwood and Bruno Fernandes with 2. So he's looking very good. He's made Man United look amazing since arriving, plus with Pogba back.
They're looking pretty good.
They're looking
United
very
at the moment,
dangerous.
yeah.
Very high scoring team recently.
Oh, as much as I don't like, obviously, you probably yourself with teams like Tottenham and Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tottenham fan and me with the likes of City and United.
Yeah.
You don't like seeing rival sides becoming good, but it's always good to see
More
others,
competitive, yeah.
Like, as much as I don't like the club, I still do like players in the team. Like,
Yeah, of
I like
course.
the likes of Martial and Rashford and seeing young talents come through like that. It's not really a big fan of anyone at City. Now I like Sané because he's left. But I do like, as much as you don't like the teams, you like some players in there because you can't disrespect the talent they have.
No, of course not.
Not a big fan of overpriced players. That's why a lot of City players I'm not a fan of because they just get paid.
Or Manchester or Chelsea.
Yeah, they just. But like obviously you see 50 million players sitting on Manchester City's bench at the moment, likes of João Cancelo, who they bought for 50 million. I don't think he's played.
I don't know
many
how they
games.
got away with that deal. They swapped Danilo for João Cancelo.
Yeah.
Mental.
Maybe he was. We just thought he was a lot better than what he was, because obviously he hasn't been great. But you know what I mean. Like
Yeah, of course.
they're paying so much money for players that aren't worth that much money just because they have the money.
Actually, I saw something interesting. It was like, it's one of those things on Twitter. It's like there are levels to this game. It's like Bernd Leno 15 million or between 15 and 20. Kepa 70.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the little like.
Like I like players
Yeah,
that are like really underrated, aren't paid as much, that show their class.
I like players that are underrated, but then they immediately become overrated because
Yeah.
everyone keeps talking about
So
them.
like
Which
obviously saying
and
to myself
overhyping.
likes like Van Dijk. At the time, everyone thought we overpaid for him, but he's shown that he's worth that much. Obviously coming top 3, Ballon d'Or, and winning Premier League Player of the Season. But you know what I mean with players like are
of course.
overpaid, and but yeah, it's good to see the Prem that's really competitive real competitive. Obviously, now that Liverpool finally won it, you'd like to see. It's going to be good seeing the relegation battle and the top 4 push.
We'll get to that in a moment because there's some stuff to talk about. So, continuing on, Arsenal beat Norwich 4-0. Aubameyang scoring 2, Xhaka and Cedric scoring 1 apiece.
I think they needed a game like this, Arsenal.
Yeah.
They needed a game where they could just get a good win in, just to get their confidence up and going. Obviously, Aubameyang had a very good season. Yeah.
Right, so Bournemouth and Newcastle. Newcastle winning 4-1 with Dwight Gale, Sean Longstaff, Almiron, Lazaro, and Gosling scoring.
Oh, well, Bournemouth haven't had a great season. But it's good to see Newcastle.
They're very inconsistent. Like, when they want to be really good, they're really good. And others
they've got some good names, but
Yeah. Then Everton beat Leicester 2-1. Richarlison and Sigurdsson scoring for Everton and Iheanacho scoring for Leicester.
Yeah, they went 2-0 up very early. And I think just by then that was game over early. Leicester haven't come back from the break very good.
Well, they haven't, but we'll also get to that as well. But there's more to come. That is one of the bigger games that happened over the past week. West Ham and Chelsea, crucial 3 points for West Ham.
Yeah, very, very crucial.
And a game they didn't really want to lose for Chelsea because that could potentially risk them finishing top 4 now.
Well, as you see, 3rd and 4th were Leicester and Chelsea, and they both lost on the same.
So Willian scored 2 goals, a penalty and a free kick. Souček, Antonio, and Yarmolenko scoring for West Ham.
Yeah, so Souček did score earlier, but it got
disallowed.
Yeah.
Which,
and then he scored pretty much the exact same goal.
Yeah.
A bit later, and then obviously the 89th minute from Yarmolenko.
So this week there's been a few questionable VAR decisions. The next 2 games we're talking about. It always gets back to Spurs and Liverpool for us, doesn't it? So
it's
Sheffield,
always Collingwood North and Spurs and Liverpool, but it seems like they're always the games that have got the most to talk about.
So Sheffield beat Spurs 3-1 with, I think it's pronounced Berger. I thought it was Burgess the whole time. But so Berger, Mousse, McBurney scoring for Sheffield and Kane scoring for Spurs, which, okay, I'm not saying it would have changed the result. However, there was a goal disallowed because it supposedly handballed it to Lucas, which was a bit harsh because he was fouled and falling over. Like, what could he possibly do there? And then the big talking point, Man City beat Liverpool 4-0. De Bruyne scoring a penalty, Sterling, Foden, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain scoring an own goal.
A lot of fans make the reasons like they were still hungover.
No, that's played bad.
They've already won the league, so they've got nothing to play to. We have not come back from the break as nearly as good as what we were before the break. No. Obviously, the Everton draw 0-0. Obviously, we played fantastic against Crystal Palace to get a big win. Obviously, we get to the game this morning a bit in a minute, but we're not nearly as good as what we were 4 months ago. We just don't look as attacking as what we are and things. But City have come out obviously very good until today, but it's hard to say. Well, we're trying out a few new players, obviously, in the midfield today. We've started a few new players, bringing on the young players to get some experience in, which I like to see. And it's a good time to do it, obviously, after you've won the title. But not a great look for Liverpool.
No, because all the fans that aren't Liverpool fans... So everyone that hates Liverpool, essentially, has just jumped to the saying, the overrated, undeserved champions, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
Like, really.
We didn't... We've worked for 30 odd games to win the title before this game, so you can't really.
I mean, people just can't deal with the fact that Liverpool won the league, which, I mean, I guess I can understand that. They just don't want to see their rival teams winning it. Anyway, so Norwich lost to Brighton 1-0 with Trossard scoring the goal. Now Norwich, it's not looking good. Brighton, however, that's a good win for them to keep them staying in, which is very crucial. Next, Leicester versus Crystal Palace 3-0. Huge win for Leicester.
Yeah, I think, was it Vardy's 100th goal for...
100th Premier League goal, yeah.
So
his first goal of the game was his 100th,
yeah.
And Iheanacho scoring.
Yeah, so that's 2 and 2 for Iheanacho. So that's good to see.
He's not looking too bad when he he's brought on as a sub.
Yeah.
You know?
Obviously, Vardy's first goal was a very easy tap in, but the second goal was pretty nice.
We'll come back to that in a moment as well. So Man United and Bournemouth. Now this is the highest scoring game of the week with 7 goals in total.
Well, what was there? 5 goals in the space of 25 minutes at game time.
So Stanislas scored the first goal for Bournemouth.
Good
Meg
finish.
Harry Maguire
Yeah.
near post, fantastic. Then Greenwood scored. His first goal, I forget what it was.
So
But
he cut left, kicked it, and then Ramsdale hit it in.
that's right. And then Rashford scored a penalty, and then Martial.
Very lovely goal.
Oh, it's
Very lovely
fantastic. We'll get to that later. Then Josh King scored a penalty to bring it back to 3-2.
Yeah.
And then Greenwood scored again, and Bruno Fernandes scored a free kick.
Not over the wall.
We'll get back to that.
Not over the wall. We went left to the wall to the other side.
It was a good free kick.
It was a very good free kick.
Now, the next game is...
And that's a prime example of a player I like from a rival side, Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people have jumped on him being a penalty merchant. That's not fair.
No.
Like, he's a very creative player. It's
Yeah.
just, he plays for a rival club and no one wants that. Which, yeah, I guess I could say it. So the next game, Wolves-Arsenal. Arsenal winning 2-0 with Saka and Lacazette scoring the goals.
That's a massive win for
Huge
Arsenal.
win for Arsenal.
Big loss for them.
Very... Yeah, this is not good for Wolves. They needed that win. And I was really hoping they did because they were made it better for,
Well, when
for
I
us.
think about it, I think Wolves will benefit going into the Europa League again. I don't think they could challenge in...
Well, what if they win this season?
Well, if they win that, then good on them. They're in the Champions League. But I think if they don't, I think another year in Europa League will suit them. I don't think they'll challenge much in the Champions League. They're just not at that stage yet, even though they're really doing well in the Prem. I think, and that'll be the same with Leicester.
Maybe they just need more time.
Yeah, I think it could be the same with Leicester. I don't see them like really pushing in, obviously the bigger competition in Europe. But I think if Leicester maybe go through the Europa League for one season and just they would have a big chance of winning that, I reckon.
Yeah, completely agree. Right, so Chelsea beat Watford 3-0 at home, and as their sponsor says, 3 is the magic number. Again,
I'm actually a big fan of the new kit.
I really like it too.
It's so basic.
It has a
It's
very
really nice.
2000s look, but like in a good way.
Yeah. Obviously,
And it doesn't look like
straight away against West Ham. They used it as a meme, and it was obviously going to hurt them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it doesn't look like a bus seat now, which is good.
but
anyway.
I like it. It's very basic and really, really nice.
But like,
Pretty
it's a good basic.
And I like that they've brought it in right now. Like they haven't
Yeah,
waited till next season. They're bringing in like other teams that are going to do. But I like it.
Anyway, so Giroud scored. Willian scored his 3rd penalty,
Yeah, penalty merchant.
and then
Big
Ross
Ross.
Barkley scored.
Yeah. Obviously, Watford are really struggling.
So I think they're just. We'll get to that in a minute, but I think they could have used a point there, but it's against Chelsea. So Chelsea needed this win desperately,
definitely
and they
did.
got it. So next is Burnley and Sheffield, 1-0 to James Tarkowski and John Egan scoring. All right.
Obviously, pretty. When you look at it on paper, a pretty boring game. But it's what is it? Ninth versus 7th.
Yes.
It's a bit weird here. 9th versus 7th. Burnley versus Sheffield, but yeah, not the two most exciting teams to watch. I'll tell you that.
It's not bad for Sheffield to get a point, but 3 points would have really benefited them. But I'm glad they got the draw.
Another team that haven't come out of the break really well.
The last week they've been
They're
better.
starting to improve a bit more. Yeah, definitely.
Then next we've got Newcastle and West Ham finishing 2-2 with Antonio, Almiron, Souček and Shelby all scoring.
Yeah.
Souček is the CDM. He scored like 4 times in that last
Good
2
player.
weeks.
Very good.
Good
player.
pickup. And then Liverpool and Aston Villa, 2-0 to Liverpool. Mane scoring the first goal as champions, and Curtis Jones scoring.
Yeah. So obviously watch this game. It was very boring first half. It looked like we had it looked like it was 100% possession to 0. Whenever Aston Villa got it, they just kicked it long to Van Dijk, and Van Dijk would just pass around. We kept going forward, then passing it back, but got the goal, and then Klopp, as a good manager would do, brought on the young players, and I think Curtis Jones played very well when he came on, getting the ball at right back. He started the play to his goal as well, and like lovely little finish. It's good to see the young players getting a goal, and you could see he really loved it. First Premier League goal. So
I think he's definitely someone that Liverpool can build towards in the
definitely.
future.
Obviously with the
I mean, he'll probably get the Phil Foden treatment.
players like Ox getting a start, who played decent. Naby Keita got the assist to Mane, and I think he could, with that performance this morning, he started to show what he could bring to Liverpool after not being in for a while, and I think Ox did as well. And then obviously Divock Origi didn't have a great game. Obviously backed it up with the hair colour, which I'm a big fan of. When it's not football without Divock, but it's good. didn't do much. Mane didn't have a great game. Just scored it was a really nice finish up top, hit the crossbar and went in. But good to get the 3 points over the line.
Right, very nice. And this morning, a big upset. Southampton beating Man City 1-0 at home with Shea Adams scoring his first first Premier League goal, I think.
Yeah.
And what a way to score.
Well, City are...
This is City's biggest
They've
problem.
just beaten Liverpool 4-0.
And then they lose to a mid-table team.
Yeah.
And people,
Not even conceding to Danny Ings.
and people are wondering like why City didn't win the league. Like they're saying Liverpool like overrated, undeserved to win the league. It's like that's City's biggest problem. Like,
well, when you think about it, Liverpool did lose to Watford, but City have lost to the likes of Southampton, Wolves twice, who aren't bad, and then they've lost to teams like Norwich, who are on the bottom. So, and Liverpool haven't lost to teams like that.
So it's been
they've just got over the line. So you can't really say Liverpool don't deserve it and stuff when City haven't beaten those lower table sides.
Again, it just comes down to rival fans being salty about it. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah. It's never going to change.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the week of Premier League action, with more to continue this week. And yeah, so we're moving on to my goals of the week.
Ooh.
Now, there's been some doozies. Up until I think maybe Saturday, there was only like 4 I considered really good, and in the last couple of days, there's been some amazing shots. All right, so we started with some honourable mentions. So we've got Williams' free kick against West Ham. So it was quite a distance, and he curls it into the right, comes in off the post. Beautiful goal, which I believe put them up 2-1. I think it wasn't enough to get the win, unfortunately, but you know. Then next is Yarmolenko against Chelsea. It was just a really good team goal.
Yeah, obviously the winner.
So it's been a few days since I watched it, but I believe it was off a Chelsea corner and West Ham got the counter-attack. Declan Rice got the assist. It was just a good finish from Yarmolenko overall. Then Cedric against Norwich. A long shot from outside the box. Yeah, Arsenal. You probably forgot Arsenal signed this guy. I think
when you said it, I'm like, who?
Yeah, exactly. Next, another Arsenal goal. Saka versus Wolves. So it was sort of a rebound. So someone had a shot before him, I think, or it was a rebound, and he just first time volley. Wasn't too far out, but it was a very clean finish. It's just something to admire. I thought it was really nice. Then we got Vardy versus Crystal Palace. His second goal in particular. So it's just a very good run from halfway, and then he chips the keeper for his 101st Premier League goal. And he's up top of the Golden Boot race with 21 now. So 5 games to go, I think. So who knows how that's going to finish. So hopefully it's either Vardy or Ings. Then next we've got Shelvey versus West Ham. This is another good team goal.
Yeah.
Quick reply as well after
2 minutes after.
2 minutes after West Ham scored. It was enough to get him 1 point from this game. Just a good team goal, I think. Then next we've got... So last honourable mention, it's Greenwood versus Bournemouth. His second goal was just... I think it was another good team goal, and just the finish itself is a powerful shot, and it just proves that Greenwood is definitely the best English youngster in the game.
Yeah.
Like, he's just been amazing this season.
Very.
He deserves more recognition.
Yeah.
Again, comes down to plays for a team that some people just don't
Yeah.
like. Yeah. Anyway, so my top 3. Now, you know me, I do love a good free kick. So my number 3 spot is going to Bruno Fernandes against Bournemouth.
Yeah.
This was hard to choose because I thought it was just such a clean free kick because he goes around the wall, goes into the left side, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, yeah. I mean, when I saw it, I was just like, that is just fantastic. Man United, you've done well to buy him. It was the right decision. Second is Martial versus Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Now this, up until this morning, this was my number 1 pick. So he gets it from the right side of the box, from the corner, and then he curls it in, or he finesses it in top right, and it's the most FIFA goal I've ever seen. That's like FIFA 19 at its peak. And, I mean, if you see the goal yourself, you should check it out. You know why I considered it my top goal of the week. But anyway, without further ado, my top goal of the week, sorry. It is Shea Adams versus Man City. It's another goalkeeper blunder from Edison. However, he's so far out and he just dinks it over the keeper, and it's just fantastic. And it won them the game. so even more important. So Shay Adams joins the club of winning goal of the week alongside Ben Chilwell and Fabinho. So it's been a good week for some. We've seen some good goals this week.
Yeah. Okay, so a final little segment of the podcast this week. We've just got a few questions to ask. Only a couple this week. We won't overload with questions.
Yeah.
So we'll just start off with the basic. Who do we go for? In both sports, which is probably we've already answered. Which I'm a Collingwood fan and Liverpool fan.
And I'm a North Melbourne fan and a Spurs fan.
Yeah. So this is a footy question.
Yep.
Will the Tigers overcome their fears of no fans?
I don't think that's their only problem.
Rapto the beat.
I don't think Richmond's only problem is fans. I think they will overcome it, but I think their biggest problem is having certain injuries and some players not going into the hub with them.
Yeah.
So I think they will overcome having no
well,
fans.
obviously, they got the win.
Yeah, well,
this
they
week.
had a good win against Melbourne, but I definitely think they'll overcome not having fans. It's just they've still got certain injuries, which is their major problem right now.
Okay. Question in from Jim's Insta. Do you see Hawthorn as a potential premiership contender?
No.
No? So sitting 9th at the moment.
Like this. Well, if you saw the game against Richmond, you know how good they can be.
Yeah.
But other than that, they've had some they haven't played as well. Like they've been a bit inconsistent. Like against the Giants, they weren't as good. Against Geelong, they were terrible. It's just I just don't see them beating the likes of Port Adelaide or I know they beat Brisbane, but I think teams like Brisbane are just they're just better.
Alright, this is from a lot of hard names to pronounce this week. Like Eo Kiab. Thoughts on Bruno times Pogba duo?
Also, that's one of my mates, so it's Iokia. I actually really like the duo.
Yeah.
Because I know everyone's high on Bruno Fernandes, and I totally see it. I think he's fantastic. And, you like someone to the point where you hate playing against them.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a duo now.
That's how you know that they're good, that you hate playing against them. But when you watch them, when they're against any other team, then you just love watching them.
Yeah.
And Pogba being back definitely helps because he boosts that Manchester midfield. Definitely. I know some people, like a lot of people consider him one of the best in the world. Others say he's lazy. I'm more on the side he's not as good as he could be. But I think with Bruno as well, because apart from that they've got Fred or Scott McSauce.
Yeah.
So I think that duo could be very dangerous, and it's making Man United look 10 times better than they did before.
Yeah, and then we'll do one more from Jim. Should Arsenal turn to youth, as in Reece Nelson, Saka, Willock, Nketiah, to rebuild, or should they buy players instead? So, like, buy more experienced players now, or go to the youth and just...
Well, I think they should do both.
Both?
I don't think they should splash all the cash. Like, spending 70 on Pepe was... I think it will pay off in the future, but I think at first it was a bit much. But players like Saka, Willock, the other one, what's his name?
Nketiah,
yeah.
and Reece Nelson.
I think we haven't seen too much of Reece Nelson, but I think all of them have proven,
obviously
especially like Saka.
Martinelli as well.
And Martinelli,
started pretty well for Arsenal.
So I think Arsenal's youngsters are all really good. It's just, they got to they can't use youngsters to build their defence yet. They got to spend some money in that defence.
A big defender, like a main defender.
Yeah.
They tried it with Socrates.
Hasn't really paid off.
Yeah.
They've got the attackers, they've got the keeper, they've got the youngsters. So I think it's a bit of
they've
both.
got a great attack.
Yeah.
Great keeper. Defence is awful.
I think it's just a bit of both. They should definitely invest in their youth, but they should also have to spend some money. Not like a ludicrous amount, just enough to stay relevant, I guess.
Yeah.
Alright. So it looks like that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for tuning into the Dickheads Talk Sport podcast, and we'll see you next time.